Welcome everyone to this full moon meditation from Meditation Mount in Ojai, California. And it's taking place in the sun sign of Libra when the full moon is in Aries. We're gathered in virtual space from around the world. And so let's begin by intentionally creating a shared field of receptivity and impression in which we can stand together. And we begin by taking a few deep, gentle breaths in order to be present here and now. And continuing with these deep breaths, we release any tensions that may be held in the physical body, feeling ourselves relax. And then we let go of any tensions in the emotional or feeling body, allowing the waters of the emotions to subside and become calm. And now we still the mind and we release any extraneous thoughts that may be swirling. Allow them simply to disperse so that the sky of the mental plane remains clear, unclouded, with a sense of serenity. So we have brought relaxation, calmness, and serenity into the three vehicles of our personality body, which is the incarnated agent of the soul. And now let's enter the space of the heart and sense there inside yourself the eternal flame of your essential nature. That flame is the fire of love. And now we connect heart to heart to heart by sending lines of lighted love from our heart to all hearts gathered together. And we weave together a matrix of community and communion. And inside this group heart, we know ourselves as one, in resonance with each other and in resonance with the one life in whom we live and move and have our being. So with a few more deep, gentle breaths, we return our focus to our meditation with an added sense of meaning and belonging. Thank you. So let me say a few things about Libra. First of all, Libra is an air sign, and it promotes and supports the establishing of right human relationships and the ultimate equilibrium, which is between the soul and the form. And Libra especially provides a propitious influence on the domain of justice, law, and governance. And as we know, this is something that's urgently needed in these times of imbalance, turmoil, and unrest as we approach Election Day here in the USA. So in general terms, the great gift of Libra is the opportunity to make clear choices and to achieve dynamic balance and equilibrium on all levels. And this is clearly reflected in its spiritual motto. I choose the way that leads between the two great lines of force. I choose the way that leads between the two great lines of force. So this motto really describes the middle way where we are invited to navigate the noble path through a landscape of dualism without being conditioned by any of the opposing forces. But this upper path is not an escape from the realities of daily life, but a skillful passage that has found a higher point of synthesis between the pairs of opposites. And in the spiritual teachings, it's said that as the traveler proceeds along the upper way with an ever-growing realization of the mysteries of life, the path becomes narrower and narrower until it eventually becomes the razor's edge path of the initiate. And upon this pilgrim path, there is no room for deviation. No choice other than to follow the guiding light of the soul so that the outer journey is wholly lived in integrity with a deep sense of who we are on the inside, our essential spiritual identity. So we can look upon this Libram period as an excellent time to pause, take stock, and recalibrate our way of thinking, as well as reconfigure the behaviors and forms through which we expend our life energy so that we may liberate ourselves from the prison of polarization. We may refocus our forces and stand at a clearer and higher point of synthesis together. So equilibrium is the key word. And these choices and spiritual strivings are greatly aided by the energies pouring through Libra, because it represents what's called the interlude between two activities. And this describes the stage of contemplation upon the path wherein the life of the soul and its form are balanced. So the clear gift of Libra is an opportunity to achieve balance and equilibrium on all levels. And equilibrium I would describe as a dynamic state of balance held within the heart that is always tensed and striving toward a higher point of synthesis. And this higher point is reached through conscious choice, an act of will, through equilibrium. And it's interesting to note that the spirit of equilibrium is another name for the spirit of peace. And 3 weeks ago, we celebrated Peace Week around the world. Peace, in my understanding, is attained as we stand in the place of deepest meaning and belonging possible, where the not-self no longer holds sway. We are standing in the real. And this is a place we have to claim and occupy by an act of will, so our life becomes consecrated to serving a higher purpose. So let me read a quote from Esoteric Astrology by Alice Bailey that further explains the gifts and characteristics of Libra. She says, "The sign Libra is one of peculiar interest, but in a most paradoxical manner, for much of its interest is based upon the fact that it lacks spectacular interest of any kind, except in the case of disciples or those nearing the path. It is a sign of balancing, of careful weighing of values, and of achieving the right equilibrium between the pairs of opposites. It might be regarded as the sign in which the first real vision of the path appears, and of the goal towards which the disciple must ultimately direct his steps. This path is the narrow, razor-edge path which runs between the pairs of opposites and which, if it is to be safely trodden, requires the development of a sense of values and the power to utilize rightly the balancing, analytical faculty of the mind. It is also the sign of intuitive perception." So it talks about Libra as being of no spectacular interest, and yet for those treading the path, it is important. It's said that this is where the shift happens. And the way it's described in the Ageless Wisdom teachings is when one dedicates oneself, when one aligns with life and says, yes, I'm here to serve, we then start to tread the zodiacal wheel in the opposite direction, the reverse. So this is a time where choice is made. We find this point of equilibrium, we find this point of choice, and then we go along this upper path. So treading the higher middle path between the pairs of opposites is really a major task facing all of us as a human family if we're to liberate ourselves. I mean, look at what's transpiring all around the world. If you look around, you can see that we're presently in the vice-like grip of polarization and extremism. And unfortunately, it's tearing apart our social fabric. Being stuck in polarization locks and stymies the creative spirit. And obvious examples of this would include the current battle between right-wing and left-wing positions in politics. Just a couple of words about this political arena. I like to say, in its purest sense, politics is simply how we choose to live together and govern ourselves. How we choose to live together and govern ourselves. And at the deepest level, it is how we choose to access and harness the sovereign power of the higher self to make the right choices. The divisiveness now occurring in the world points to this urgent need to find a higher point of resolution and synthesis. Let us take note that wise and right governance is a key theme of Libra. So to recap the opportunities afforded by this zodiacal sign, Libra allows us to access to higher qualities and energies that provide a beneficent influence on the domain of justice, law, and governance. And Libra is sometimes called the place of judgment, for it's here that the decision is made and the die is cast, marking the distinction between the ordinary wheel of life and the reverse wheel of spiritual attainment that takes place, that places our feet firmly on the middle path towards wholeness and self-realization. This is what I referred to a minute ago. Now, the symbol of Libra is two horizontal lines. The upper one is in the shape of a yoke that depicts balance. And I'd like us to reflect on this image often associated with Libra, because it has great significance. So justice is always portrayed as a feminine presence holding the scales. She is blindfolded and cannot see with earthly eyes. This indicates impartiality and also signifies that it is only with the inner eye of the soul that we can perceive and discern truth. The bearer of the scales also carries a sword. This is the lighted sword of truth that is wielded with love in the pursuit of justice. And in the Agni Yoga teaching, it's suggested that when we visualize these scales, that we place a heart at the fulcrum point from which the scales hang, because the heart is an organ of synthesis with the special gift of right discernment or right judgment. So here in this archetypal image is something for us each to reflect on during this full moon period. Because if we deeply desire truth and justice in the world, then first we must do justice to the truth of who we are as divine beings each day through our every thought, word, and deed. And the core of our being and the truth of who we are is affirmed by one of the three principles that we work with here at Meditation Mount, the principle of essential divinity, that says inside each one of us is a spark of the Creator. We're fractals of the one life. So Libra rules humanity's subjective And so Libra rules humanity's subjective and spiritual life. It's the point of equilibrium between the soul and the form, signifying free choice. And under the influence of this sign, the point of balance or equilibrium is attained between material, personal desire and intelligent spiritual love. For the two qualities of cosmic desire are brought to the fore in the consciousness in Libra and balanced one against the other, making it possible to anchor spiritual values and energies in the daily life. And the fact that this sign is ruled esoterically by the planet Uranus provides courage and optimism, because this planet is described in the Ageless Wisdom teachings as the embodiment of the principle of concretion and the materializing of that which is in need of objective manifestation through the bringing together of spirit and matter. So Libra helps us bring together spirit and matter and to create on the outside the truth that lives on the inside. So the path from separation to greater health and wholeness as one humanity lies in us walking the upper way together. This middle path where polarities naturally converge at a higher point of synthesis. As Teilhard de Chardin declared, that which ascends converges. So the Libran period is therefore a perfect time to respond to the urging of the soul to journey ever onward and upward upon the spiral path of life, heeding the call to choose the way that leads between the two great lines of force, not to get caught up in the mechanism of polarity, to utilize it as creative tension, but to stand at a point of synthesis above it that includes it. So those are some words about Libra, and holding this awareness pulsing in our hearts, Diana will now lead us in the full moon meditation.
Thank you, Michael. Hello, everybody. So powerful energy right now as the world is in the balance between the two poles. And that is the point of Libra, right, is equilibrium. To find your point of balance, to keep your point of balance, no matter what you perceive or what's going on around us, that we keep our balance under all conditions. Steady, constant, true, a living meditation. And so that's a practice. And when we go into the meditation, we're building that muscle to get better and better at standing constant, standing true. And when you think of Libra, I'll just say a few more words. Libra is about the other. The full moon is in Aries. So we've got this polarity, right, between myself, the other. Myself, the other. That's the balance, or it's part of the balance. Is how do we do for the other, Libra, Aries, the self. Both are important. The identified self is critical to everything, as is the selfless offering, right? It's all part of it. And so as we come into this first full moon of the manifestation of what was made in the spring festivals, Aries, Taurus, Gemini. So Aries, the opposite sign is Libra. So this is the first touchdown of the beginnings of the manifestational cycle. And so we're starting to see what we're making and what we've been making. It's also the last full moon before the election. The next one is November 14th, something like that, in a month from now. So this period is really, really important as we prepare for this world event, and certainly United States event, but kind of world event as we hold for the greatest good. And if I had a suggestion for everyone to keep practicing is during this period between now and then and to the next full moon, and the new moon is on November 1st or 2nd. And when that is, even more, that's just right before the election. It's a really important time to start meditating around November 1st. But this whole period, right? We can hold for the greater good for all by our point of power, by our point of concentration, by our point of focus. And to hold that equilibrium between the apparent opposites, these opposite points, that we are the fulcrum. We are the fulcrum between those 2 points so that it's not unwieldy. It's not moving too big. It's just staying like this, right? It's wobbling, but it's not tipping over. And so that's part of our work as conscious soul, to hold steady during changing times and to hold for the highest good for all concerned. So there's not a lot of twist on that. You might, we all do have opinions about this, I'm sure, but it's still like holding up for this, holding up for, holding up with humanity, right? To allow for the greatest blessing for humanity, whatever that means. Not that this is the only thing that's going on, because there's lots going on the planet right now. And in all situations, if we can hold that with our whole heart and our whole mind, our whole heart and our whole mind, holding for the greater good for all concerned, highest good. So we'll use that inside our meditation tonight too. And the other thing I just want to mention, especially as it gets closer to the election for the people, for us in the United States and for everyone, to remember that just like we have a horoscope or an astrological chart, so does a country. And just like we have a soul, so does a country. And so when you're holding for the United States, think of holding for the soul of the nation. Holding for the soul of the nation. Om, right? For the highest good of the soul of the nation. Remember, United States just is finishing finally and it's still even actually occurring right now. But in the middle of November, around November 19th, that's finishes-ish. We still be feeling it, but that mainly gets finished. The Pluto return, right? Complete upheaval, complete looking at everything that needs to be looked at again. We're looking at again at the most fundamental way that we can possibly look at the core of it. We've had to look at it all again. And so here we are at this big time in the world. And I could talk for hours about what's happening right now, just about Pluto in the United States. But you get the feeling of it. And all of you probably know this anyway. You can feel it even if you don't know it. You can feel it. We're at a turning point. We're at a nexus. I'm calling this full moon a birth moon, a birthing moon. So these are just things to consider as we move into the meditation. So when you're ready to, just make yourself comfortable where you are and take a few breaths as you organize yourself into this time and space, letting your breath get deeper and using your breath consciously to organize yourself more and more into the moment. Breathing through your heart center to begin, and using the heart center, which is the circulatory organ / chakra, right, of the self, to organize all the energies of the body self and of the physical body, the emotional body, the mental body, the astral body, the etheric body, all the bodies, organizing through the heart. And as you breathe gently through your heart center, just feeling all of the self on every level, known and unknown, blending and balancing into this now by a breath. And so with a single breath, we're going to balance all the bodies in a super mundane breath. Inhale together. And as you exhale, balancing the self into this time and space, feeling yourself become more present now, conscious and awakened in the third eye, taking your seat in the heart of the head center. And can you already feel the power of this big surge of energy incoming, and just letting the self by through and through the heart organize these energies into the most helpful forms within the self that you can use, that you can lean on, that you can remember by, that you can recenter with. All of these informations coming through. And we don't need to identify all of that. We just, like a rain, is coming through. And feel the crown chakra open now. And the moment that the crown opens, you feel the connection between the soul and the center of the head. Conscious soul. I and the soul are one. Om. And from this place, sensing the ashram, the masters and teachers with Christ at its center, and feeling those triangles of light that ascend, 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 descend, 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 ascend, ascend, ascend. Of consciousness, of realms of awareness, of higher and higher understanding, and greater compassion. Through Shambhala, through the heart of the sun, all the way to the heart of Sirius. Make your alignment now. And we'll use this seed thought and move into the silence for about 10 minutes. With this seed thought intoning silently, we are a one life. We are a one life. We are a one life. Om. And taking your position, in a sense, in this posture of the Libra keynote, I choose the way that leads between the two great lines of force. It's a posture. I choose the way that leads between the two great lines of force. Right. And in this way, we stand witness. We stand ready as a point of calm, as a point of peace, as a point of equilibrium. And just allowing these impressions from your meditation, the insights and awarenesses, become part of your thought, word, and deed, of your consciousness, become part of your consciousness. And let these impressions bloom into your life in whatever ways are for the highest good for all. Bloom into your awareness. Inspire your thinking. Focus the mind into diamond clarity. And just gently letting your breath get deeper and fuller. And we'll close this meditation with the great invocation, followed by 3 ohms. From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into all human minds. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into all human hearts. May the coming one return to earth. From the center, where the will of God is known, let purpose guide all little human wills, the purpose which the masters know and serve. From the center, which we call the human race. Let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door where evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth. Thank you.
Thank you, Diana. So let's complete this time together by pouring the blessings that we've received from this meditation out into the world. Remembering that the spirit of equilibrium is also known as the spirit of peace, let us invoke the presence of this great avatar. And this avatar is overlighting Earth at this time. And the spirit of peace is seeking to take up residence on Earth. And the most suitable abode for it to occupy is the open and loving heart. So we will be sounding the Tibetan bowl 3 times, and as we do so, we'll radiate blessings to our world. And with each sounding, we send out a wave of deep peace that touches the hearts of all our sisters and brothers and blesses all beings for whom Gaia is home. May peace prevail on earth. May peace prevail on earth. May peace prevail on earth. Thank you for your presence and participation in this full moon meditation, a time when thousands and thousands of people around the world come together to meditate and to create a space where the light of the soul of the one humanity can infiltrate, can suffuse, can fill the personality life. So from all of us here at Meditation Mount, we bid you good night, and we look forward to seeing you next month at the Full Moon Meditation. And so on behalf of Diana and Joey, who is working the broadcast behind the scenes, and myself, our deep gratitude for all of us who have chosen to show up in service. So farewell and blessings to all beings. Namaste.